welcome to another episode of Iconic Freedom, the Formula. We are setting the standard for accountability and responsibility, the ownership of your choices and the consequences for those choices. Let each care for self, and all will be cared for.
You know the words, help me out here. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
So that is an amazing version of that song by Carrie Underwood at this week's inauguration of President Trump. So what's interesting, how does that align with letting go of attachment? Aha, I'm glad you asked. So really and truly, it was an interesting moment. I watched it live that day in real time. And I was watching the situation, and you can see, most people, when things are starting to happen and they're not quite going the direction you want them to, you can get away with about 5 to 10 seconds of something kind of going off the rails a little bit. You may be able to go another 5, maybe to like 15 or so. But once you get past that, then people are starting to, look at each other. And by the 30-second mark, everybody's, talking to each other. So if you are just listening to this, I encourage you to go to Rumble or to Buzzsprout or to YouTube and actually watch the video if you haven't already, because what you see is, there's just kind of this murmur going on, and she mouths to the tech, let's just sing it, and then that's when she put the mic up and said, hey y'all, if you know the words, help me out here. So what I found interesting from my perspective of this, and how I thought it really went along with this topic for this week, letting go of the attachment, is that you have an idea, you're making choices when you go into a situation, but you really don't know what the outcome is going to be. She can prepare, she can be very responsible and prepare as much as she can, which as a professional, that's what she does. But when you get into the moment, you just don't know what might happen. And you can try to account for certain things. Now, I'm not sure what was going on with the tech people, and did they have a backup? I mean, I know I've done shows before where it's like, okay, here's the original, but then here's a backup, and then here's a backup of the backup, just in case. It just all depends, right, on, how important whatever it is, the presentation or the music or whatever. But I thought what came out of it was one of the most beautiful renditions of that song. I mean, when you think about it, that was pretty remarkable. I mean, the reverb that was going on in that rotunda, and then I just thought it was spectacular to be able to hear the military backing her up. It's like, Well, if she had just sung it on her own, I don't know that we would have heard them. And then what a gracious, lovely moment for all those Americans that, and those that are visiting from outside the country, to experience something as amazing and remarkable as that moment. So often in our lives, when we're making choices and we're making plans, we're not realizing that as we do that, we're getting attached to the outcome because we're hoping, we have a desire, we have a hope that it's going to go the way we want it to. And, most of the time for a lot of people, it does. If you're a person that is developing in responsibility and you're accountable and you're paying attention to your choices, you will find yourself more and more moving in the direction where less and less gets thwarted in terms of what your plans are. It's not to say that it's going to be perfect all the time, but a lot of the time you'll find that it goes pretty smoothly. And when it doesn't, if you've already developed these qualities, then you just kind of take it in stride. All right, no big deal. Let's see, what do I want to do now? And then you make a decision in the face of whatever that outcome is. That's a very healthy approach. She could have been a diva. She could have said, I'm not singing. There's no way I'm going to be able to do this. There's all kinds. She's standing in front of the president. Who knows? But she does not have that kind of energy. I never get, and nor have I ever had that sense about her. She's always been a pretty stalwart performer and very professional, very funny. But she has a very easygoing nature about her. I could tell there, on her face, there's a little uncomfortableness going on there because not because of her talent or the quality of her voice or anything like that, but just that, she's wanting to do well in front of the president. She's wanting this to go well. But I think the fact that it didn't happen in the way that they had hoped with the music, I think it was a stellar performance. I thought she sounded beautiful. She was in good voice, and having the military back her up, that was an incredible performance. I think when you start to endeavor your own formula and you start setting your own standard, if you realize for yourself that not everything is going to go exactly as you desire and want, but you have a general idea of how you would like it to go, and then you let go of attachment to the outcome. You would be amazed how easily you step on that magic carpet and you really enjoy the ride. The other thing about this, and it's kind of an interesting thing to put out there, but consider it, if you will, that the more you detach from these things that you want to do, these outcomes that you hope for, and the more you integrate that, the more you will start to realize that you can literally let go of attachment to everything, even to life, because the reason that you move to that place is because more and more you realize that you're in the moment. Anything can change on a dime. You know what? People fly planes into buildings and they strap bombs on themselves and they drive cars into, holiday markets and, they wield knives and they do crazy stuff on subways. Anything can happen in a moment's notice. But if you are living your life in the moment, making your choices, being responsible, being accountable, but living in that moment and letting go of attachment, you will not regret the choices that you make. People regret when they get attached to something and they can't let go of it. And then they keep looking back on all of what they would call the missed opportunities. the thing that they don't realize is what you're seeing as a missed opportunity could be, and most often is, life bringing you something more than what you could have possibly thought it would be. I'm going to end with this story. It's called The Theory of the Burnt Toast. And I looked it up, there's a bunch of people that, kind of talk about this, but I just happened to see this last night on the Dan Bongino show, and I thought, oh, how funny. I was looking for a closer, and this story kind of fit for that. But I don't want to leave this podcast without basically reinforcing the idea that the more you can let go of things, the more you can let go of situations, the more you can let go of people in your life, the deeper you will love those people, because you realize that everything is within this finite universe and that all relationships end. That relationship to everything, the relationship to your family, your friends, your spouse, your partner, to the people you work with. The relationship will end to your house and your car and all the things that you've acquired in this life. Your relationship will end to your memories. And if you move yourself slowly but surely to the point where you start to integrate that understanding for yourself, I know this sounds crazy to say, but you will cross a threshold where suddenly you will feel more deeply. You will experience much more joy out of the moments that you do savor with people. And, you don't have to do lunch with everybody, but you will be able to live in those moments where you have a great exchange with someone. And it could be funny, and it could be joyful, it could be loving, it could be sentimental. You just don't know. But if you're always attached to something, think about what that does. That binds you up. It binds you and restricts you to a memory, to a thought, to a person, to a something in life that you just can't get free of. And the more that happens for you, the more you atrophy the vitality of your own life. I'm going to stop so that I can play this clip from Dan Bongino, and then we'll wrap it up.
But showing you again the burnt toast theory. And please listen to this. I'm watching a video the other day, and it's by this life coach guy or something. I don't know. I saw it on TikTok. And the guy's talking about the burnt toast theory. And there's this old Chinese kind of just story from a proverb or whatever it is, or whatever they call them. And this guy, he loses his horse, so the neighbors come over. And they're like, hey, you lost your horse. That's really bad news. And you ever hear this? And the Chinese farmer's like, hey, man, good news, bad news. I don't know yet. So the next day, the horse comes back, and it brings 2 more horses with it. So the neighbors come over to the Chinese farmer, and they're like, hey, man, that's great news. Now you got 3 horses instead of 1. He says, good news, bad news. I don't know yet. So the next day, the son's trying to train one of the horses, and the son falls off the horse and breaks his back. So the neighbors come over and they go, man, your son broke his back on one of those horses. That's really bad news. He says, good news, bad news. I don't know yet. And then the Chinese army official in an unwinnable war knocks on his door the next week and says, hey, man, we're recruiting for the army. We need your son. He says, he can't go. He's got a broken back. I said, okay, we'll leave him. So the neighbors come over and go, man, that was good news. He says, good news, bad news. I don't know yet. That's the burnt toast theory for you.
So you may find that there are other versions of that story that are out there, but the thing that I just think is so interesting is that when we see situations instead of problems, when we see opportunities instead of things that, are getting in our way of being able to do the things that we want to do, kind of thing, that we've gotten so attached to something that we can't see the magic in the moment. I think from what I observe in my own life and the lives of other people that I see around me, that we lose an opportunity to see a reality that we never thought possible because we got so caught up in how something is supposed to look, how something is supposed to be. And the idea that, like in the story is like, well, yeah, this happened, but as a result, I got this out of it. And yeah, I got this out of it, but then it afforded me this opportunity. And those beautiful moments in your life happen time and time again, easily and more easily as time goes on, if you just do that one thing to begin with when you're making your formula and you're setting your standard. Be responsible, own your choices, be accountable, consider the options of the outcomes, let go of the attachment, and then step back and watch the beauty of life happen right before your eyes. Okay, we are at the end of another podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Hey, hit that like button if you would. Share it with your family and friends. You never know how it might help them on their journey. All the fun links to follow me and all that stuff or subscribe are down below. I'm grateful for you coming here every week to take a listen to all of this good stuff. Make it a great week. Let each care for self, and all will be cared for.